welcome to NTD China News. I'm Karen Chang. Making headlines this Thursday, April 18th. North Korea says it's ready to talk, but not before making a list of demands South Korea says are absurd. Japan says it sent in almost double the number of fighter jets to monitor Chinese aircrafts over the past year, and more evidence that Chinese courts and military hospitals are involved in illegal organ trade. North Korea has just issued conditions it demands must be met before it would return to talks with the United States and South Korea. China has repeated that dialogue is the best way forward, but the demands Kim Jong-un's regime have made might be a little too hard to swallow.
Finally, a bit of relief following months of bellicose rhetoric from Kim Jong-un's North Korean regime. It looks like they might finally be backing down, if just a bit. Today, North Korea said they wanted to reopen talks with the U.S. and South Korea on certain conditions. The country's official news broadcaster carried the announcement from North Korea's top military body. However, it is unlikely North Korea's conditions will be met. It demanded that UN sanctions must be lifted. And if the U.S. and South Korea don't want nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula, then it says the U.S. should remove its nukes first. There have been no reports from the U.S. that indicate it has nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula.
It is illogical and even makes me think absurd. Therefore, we strongly urge North Korea again to stop making such demands, which are hard to understand. And we also urge them to make a wise choice, as we repeatedly have said before.
North Korea said it considers its own nuclear weapons a, quote, treasured sword. If it indeed had some, North Korea said it will never give them up. Pyongyang also told South Korea and the U.S. to stop their joint military drills. China, for its part as North Korea's only real ally, has said the U.S. and South Korea should take dialogue seriously. There has been no official word on the response the U.S. and South Korea will take or what North Korea will do if these conditions are refused.
Japan's foreign ministry said it almost doubled the amount of fighter jets to monitor Chinese planes last year, and it's because of heated territorial disputes over islands that are meant to be rich in natural resources.
With heated tension over a chain of disputed islands, Japan says it has been scrambling more fighter jets to monitor Chinese aircrafts for the past year. That announcement has upset the Chinese regime. Today at a press briefing, its foreign ministry accused Japan of adding to the tensions over the Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands. Japan said on Wednesday that it had scrambled 306 aircrafts to shadow Chinese planes over the past year. This is almost double from 156 the year before.
We believe that the Japanese side should not be sending out more aircraft, but show more sincerity and take practical steps to work hard with China to find a way to appropriately manage and resolve the problem through dialogue, talks, and consultations. This would be the best for both countries.
That call for dialogue comes a day after the Chinese Navy sent in ships to patrol the waters around the disputed islands. State-run CCTV reports that missile destroyers carried out offensive and defensive trainings. Japan and China have both sent planes and patrol boats around these islands in the East China Sea to assert their authority. While no open conflict has happened, there have been some provocative moves that have significantly strained relations.
An article this week by a daring Chinese magazine suggests a well-developed chain exists in China to supply organs on the black market. But it's not just private citizens who are involved. Judicial courts and military hospitals are also a part of it.
A nationwide system for China's black market for organs. A reporter for a Chinese financial magazine says an investigation last year turned up a supply chain that involved military hospitals, courts, and judges. The detailed accounts were only published this week, but they add way 2 years of allegations that the Chinese regime is involved in systematic transplant abuse. Xu Qianchuan is a staff reporter for Caijing magazine, a daring publication that often pushes the boundaries of reporting in the restrictive environment of mainland China. On Monday, Xu published this article about an organ broker he investigated after receiving a tip-off that the man had bought 8 kidneys from a Chinese court. He goes by the name Zheng Wei. Xu calls him the top organ broker in the business. Between May and June of 2010, Xu says Zheng purchased organs from a judge in the city-level court in eastern Shandong province. Zheng then sold all the organs to 304 Hospital in Beijing. It's a military hospital of the People's Liberation Army. Caijing magazine actually reported about some of these details back in September 2012. But in this week's article, Xu says no legal actions have been taken against the court in Shandong or the military hospital. Since 2006, human rights activists have alleged that the Chinese Communist Party extracts organs from prisoners of conscience, killing them. It's a process that allegedly involves a legal system and state-run hospitals. The regime has denied the allegations, but did acknowledge it relies heavily on executed prisoners as a source for organs. The Communist Party keeps its execution numbers secret, but researchers have pointed out that even high estimates do not support the more than 10,000 transplants carried out each year. That's because a much bigger pool of organs is needed to ensure tissues and blood type matches. In 2010, the Chinese regime announced a donation system it says will replace executed prisoners. But 3 years later, only 700 people have actually donated their organs. That's less than 250 per year, while official transplant numbers remained at around 10,000 each year.
And coming up after the break, China issues more restrictions on domestic media, now telling them not to quote foreign press without permission first. An update on the bird flu outbreak in China, and Shannon takes these audiences on a magical journey through Chinese culture. And welcome back. Media in China already operate under one of the strictest set of rules in the world, but this week they've been asked to exercise even more restraint, like not getting information from foreign news sources without getting the permission from the country's media regulators first.
China's communist regime is imposing more restrictions on domestic media. On Tuesday, the state media regulator issued a new directive banning news agencies from using information provided by foreign media or foreign websites without permission. They've also been told not to carry news provided by freelancers, NGOs, and commercial organizations without prior verification. The move is to, quote, strengthen management and stop the spread of harmful information.
There are two reasons for this. First, the Communist Party has no control over foreign media, and the public can access a lot of information online. Second, it wants to control its own print media and website, demanding that they follow orders and central directives. Basically, it's saying, don't trust foreign media, just trust the government.
The ban may heavily impact Chinese media, as many newspapers source their foreign news stories from news agencies like Reuters.
It's the age of the internet. The public has a right to know. The media has the right to report. This is a two-way street. Even in mainland China, no one can block out information or the public's right to information unless the regime cuts off the internet. This will draw a big backlash, I believe.
Media watchdog, Reporters Without Borders, has condemned the new rules as a, quote, draconian directive. In a statement, the group says Chinese authorities have been targeting foreign media, particularly after revealing reports on Communist Party leaders' fortunes. The Bloomberg News Agency website was blocked in June 2012 after it published a story on the fortune held by the family of Chinese leader Xi Jinping. More recently, email accounts of reporters from US-based media like the New York Times has been hacked. Signals of Voice of America and BBC's English shortwave radio broadcasts have also experienced jamming in China.
The H7N9 bird flu is continuing to spread in China, but not all cases have proved fatal. The fifth man to recover from the virus left the hospital today as experts from the World Health Organization prepare to help with finding out more about the mutated virus.
As of 7 p.m. local time in China today, 84 cases of bird flu have been reported, with 17 victims having died. While the numbers are grim, there have been a few survivors. This 66-year-old man from Anhui province left the hospital today after being diagnosed with H7N9 on April 7th.
I feel more energetic than I was when I was sent here.
4 others have also been discharged, bringing the number of bird flu recoveries up to 5. The carrier of the virus still hasn't been identified, but China's Center for Disease and Control says while it's most commonly associated with poultry, contracting the flu from birds isn't easy.
A lot of people come into contact with poultry or are exposed to the environment with poultry, but only a few of them were infected. That is to say, the H7N9 virus is not easily contracted.
2 cases of more than 1 in a family being infected are being closely watched. However, researchers say it so far does not seem to be transmissible through humans. The World Health Organization announced an international team of experts would come in to help study the cases. Meanwhile, a mass culling of birds has been happening in eastern China to eliminate the risk of transmission to humans.
Gauging Chinese public opinion on nearly any topic is difficult, if not impossible. Usually, analysts can only go off trends they see on Weibo microblogs, but even then, content is subjected to censorship and deletion. And that's what happened this week after a survey by a state-run media turned up some pretty disappointing results about how participants felt about the ruling Communist Party.
It's a poll that wouldn't have been possible maybe even 10 years ago. But even so, once the results were in, censor took it down. This March 27th survey by state-run People's Daily asked people how they felt about the rule of the Communist Party, with questions like, do you agree that the Chinese Communist Party has enough courage and wisdom to accelerate reform? And what is your opinion on the political pattern multi-party participation under the leadership of the party? The questions were leading, but the survey gave people the option to choose whether they agreed or disagreed. By 11:30 a.m. on April 15th, 3,000 people had responded. An overwhelming 80% disagreed with every statement. A few hours later, the poll was taken down. Comments about the survey on microblogs were also deleted. Hu Ping, the editor-in-chief of Beijing Spring Magazine, questions why the disagree option was even put in.
Don't they know that the people really don't like them? This survey must be a surprise to them. Or maybe some of them knew what was going to happen and they just used the survey for their own purposes. It's difficult for us to understand this clearly.
According to Hu, the People's Forum is considered China's top forum, but events like this emphasize just how hard it is for people in China to know what's the popular opinion.
In this authoritarian society, the biggest problem is that people don't know what the real public opinion is. Authorities create a pseudo-public opinion and cover the reality. There is no way for the real public opinion to come out. This survey is a very small event with such a short time of public exposure, but it does illustrate the main problem.
With only 3,000 votes, the survey is a drop in the bucket next to China's population of almost 1.4 billion. So it's hard to tell whether it represents a general dissatisfaction with China's one-party rule. But what is clear is that censors were uneasy enough with the results to let it stay on the internet.
Shannon Performing Arts was in San Antonio in Texas this week. One audience member says she didn't even want to blink in case she would miss any of Shannon's beautiful performances.
Shannon Performing Arts won the praise of the audience in San Antonio, Texas. One audience member says she didn't even want to blink in case she would miss any of the wonderful performances.
I love it. It's totally everything we thought it would be and more. It's beautiful. They're so talented. And I'm here with my mom. We're just blown away by the talent and how well everything is put together.
I was very taken. It really is magical. I had read about it and had heard wonderful reviews, but nothing makes up for seeing it live. So I'm grateful you came back to San Antonio.
I didn't even want to blink once. I didn't want to miss anything. It was so beautiful.
The live orchestra produced a synergy with the rest of the performance pieces that the audience really noticed.
The music is beautiful. It's really well done. It's hard to imagine that this is all happening live, and it's very impressive.
I have some music background, so I fell in love with the orchestra right away. All the classical instruments, the classical dancing, it just fell perfectly together. Everybody was in rhythm.
Audience members encourage everyone to take the opportunity to see Shannon.
Oh, they must come and see it. It's educational, it's beautiful, it's entertaining. I mean, it just encompasses all of it.
I posted all over my Facebook, and I'm telling my friends to come and watch it. It's really beautiful. Even if they're not here, I'm saying if it's coming through your town, make sure you go and see it.
Shannon continues its cross-state tour of the U.S., next playing in St. Louis, Missouri. NTD Television, San Antonio, Texas.
And that's all for this broadcast of NTD China News. For more of our China content, visit our website at ntd.tv or subscribe to our YouTube channel, NTD on China. Stay tuned for China Focus. Shelley Zhang speaks with Gordon Cheng about China's surprising economic data for the first quarter of this year. Stay tuned.